Hi, folks, and welcome to the Salty Seaman, Part 3 of Tales from the Fleet. This is Boot Camp Part 2. Now, picking up right where we left off, I was talking about waking up from our first night of sleep. That's about a day and a half through boot camp. We got about 6 hours minus being woken up around 2 a.m. for not having a watch. So, a little better this morning, but at the same time, it's not enough to recover from basically no sleep for 2 days. I almost positive we did not even shower this morning, so this is our second day without a shower. We're still wearing the same clothes, underwear and whatnot, but we did have to shave this morning. That was one of the edicts, was everyone needs to get in there into the head and shave. The head, of course, for you non-Navy and Marine folk being the bathroom, the toilet, the sinks, that kind of thing. So, not a big deal for me. I've been shaving since I was 14. Grabbed my shaving cream and my razor and went in and, pissed and whatnot, and then went to get the job of shaving. Did not realize this is not the same for everybody. There's definitely people who had, did a straight, like a close razor shave, wasn't good for their skin. They break out in bumps. A lot of these typically seem to be African American. If you're in the service and you know anything about the famous no shave chits, these are usually to people of that descent because they have skin problems from close shaves like that. So there were a lot of bitching over there. Is like, people said, like, I don't shave this way because we didn't have electric razors or anything. It was, you had disposables or, a decent razor you brought from home like I did. So there were people complaining, they didn't want to shave this particular way because they knew they were going to break out. And we had one kid I mentioned on the last thing, McDougal, was a doughy white boy from Utah, Mormon, of course. And he looked, like he was still a freshman in high school. He was just, I don't know, he might have been 5'10", and he was, like I said, doughy and just kind of looked out of shape, and he just looked like a complete, just kid that just didn't kind of belong there. And it's a little unfair, he is a kid that tried really hard, and I found out years later, he had a lot of medical problems that I don't think he finished his first term. But beyond that, he'd never really shaved before. Or, at least with at least with a regular razor, close razor. I think maybe he had another kid who just, he just had not a whole lot of facial hair at that point yet. He was probably 17, 18. I think he might have been 17 if I remember correctly. And basically he asked for help, which just kind of blew my mind. I was like, how are you this old and don't know how to shave yet? He didn't know how to put on shaving cream. He didn't know how to, just do the do. I guess he'd just always been using some kind of electric to clear off what little he had, but they were very specific. Is like, don't, just because you think you don't have a lot of facial hair, there's peach fuzz, and you need to clear all that off. If we catch you, you're in trouble. So he's kind of panicking and kind of looking over, and a couple of guys go and help him and basically teach him how to put on shaving cream and shave like a normal human being. So that was a fairly interesting moment. I cleaned up and, waited for everyone else, and we get our time, and they're yelling at us, like, hey, you got 1 minute to finish, blah, blah, blah. And then, we get in line and go to breakfast and whatnot. Now, the rest of this day, I believe we did two things. We went and got our haircuts first. So we're finally, getting the boot camp bald shave down. Now, of course, everyone knows anything about boot camp knows males, when they go to boot camp, you get your head shaved. That's just tradition the way it is. They're not going to give you a, in regs, regular haircut. You start off bald. Every service kind of does it differently. I believe the Marines stay bald through the entire thing. I don't know about the other services, but in the Navy, you get one every 2 weeks, but they kind of leave the top alone unless you ask them not to. But, for us, of course, we go in and we go into a barber shop, and we're standing in this very huge line, and you all have to be there. it doesn't matter if you were. So like some guys came, they'd already shaved their heads, because they didn't want to go through it, but they made them stay in the line anyway, and the barber would determine if they had to do anything. I think a couple of guys who basically had no hair still got a razor ran over their head just for shits and giggles. At this point, I had my hair kind of grown out a bit. It'd been a long while since my last haircut because I knew I was going in the Navy. I was just like, yeah, they're going to cut it all off anyway, so whatever. So I think I probably had a bit of a mullet going on, kind of longish hair. And, we just stand in this line, and the line is forever. And we're still tired. And, like, you're just standing there doing nothing. You just kind of lose your sense of, just anything. And it's not as tiring as the last day, but it's still pretty tiring. And, a lot of guys are starting to sit down in the corner when no one was looking and try to catch some winks. And, of course, some RDC or whatever would come by and start yelling at people who were not standing in line like they were supposed to be. I was standing with a kid named Shunk, Shunk. I'll never forget him. I actually stared across him for the rest of boot camp. He stood right across from me on his rack. And, we were sitting there talking, and we kind of came up with this plan. We'd still stand up in line, but we'd stand back to back, and kind of balance each other and try to catch a little bit of sleep or whatnot. Because, I mean, that's the best we could do at the time, so we want to sit down and, get caught, slacking off as, these are the people already in trouble for. So I think we attempted that, and it kind of worked for a little bit, but not really. Because the line does keep moving, and, eventually we got to get our haircuts. And Shunk was I believe he was Korean or half Korean. He was going to the Seabees. A big old boy. I think he was like 6'2", 6'3", heavy set, very jovial, fun guy. He was also in that list of guys who seemed to get in trouble all the time. But overall, he was a good guy. And, we finally get to go get our haircuts. And, of course, they're not gentle with it whatsoever. It's just, they just take a pair of clippers at 0 and just run it over your head. And it hurts. Some people get cuts and scabs and whatnot. I don't think I got a cut or a scab, but I know it didn't feel good at all. And they missed a tiny wisp of hair right behind my right ear, which I had through about half of boot camp. And one of the black guys who had gotten a shaved chit to be able to shave with a pair of clippers, he was given barracks, haircuts and whatnot. Late in boot camp, and I asked him to take off that little bit off my hair. That was way later, but that little piece of hair just bugged me for like the majority of boot camp. So, it's just kind of how it is. And, we all got through it, and then we went to lunch probably. And I think after that, as we got issued they gave us a bunch of chits basically. Now a chit in the Navy is it's a request of any kind of sort. In this case, it was for, basic supplies and toiletries. So we went to the recruit, like little store where we could buy shampoos and soaps and shaving creams and whatnot. Now we've been issued a pair of shower shoes at this point. These weird beige peach shower shoes. And RDC's told us, is like, you guys aren't going to use those because those need to be absolutely clean for inspection purposes. Because, when other people come through and inspect everything, they want everything to be, spick and span. So they said, like, no, go buy a pair of, like, regular flip-flop thong style shower shoes. That's what you're going to use. Do not use your boot camp. Use your official boot camp ones. That was kind of our edict. So it was another thing we bought there. I bought soap and shampoo. Even though I didn't have any hair, I went ahead and bought shampoo. A lot of guys didn't because they were bald and they figured, like, what the fuck's the point? And we weren't paying money. We're using these little chits they gave us. And that kind of, that was kind of like, and we went back and, we had a couple more days of processing coming up. Now this is where everything kind of gets a little more hazy and run together because we have going through the rest of P days, pre days, and we're in our Smurfs. At some point we get moved from the Smurf Hotel to our actual compartment. I think that was either that day or the next day. At some point in there, we got we finally got to shower and change out of our, under skivvies and put on fresh ones. We got back our issued dungarees, but not to wear yet. But we had to stencil them. They decided at the time there was two ways you could do it. You could go get name tapes, which was a nice professional name tapes, or you could just stencil your name on your pockets. And they kind of convinced us, it's like, well, it takes longer to get the name tapes done. If you guys want to get out of Smurfs and into dungarees, this will be a faster way to do it, because we just got to send it off at this point to get tailored and just get the pants tailored and get them washed and whatnot. So somewhere around that point, we went into our official ship berthing, what have you. We got assigned our racks. And then they taught us basically, that's kind of where I really remember first meeting my RDCs. So I talked about Boardley already. There's another guy, RM1 Cade, who's kind of our lead RDC. Another African American male, a character. He was, I think I really liked him, overall, even though he was a hard ass, of course, he's an RDC. I actually met my YN2 on my first ship. His previous station was Great Lakes. He was there as an admin, but he'd been friends with Cade. I believe his name was Tony Cade, and he kind of told me about him like from the other side of the fence when I got to talking to him on the ship. So that was kind of funny. But at the time, he's the authority figure, and they're barking at us, and they're instructing us. They're teaching us like how to stencil the uniforms and wear, and then they're trying to teach us how to fold everything. It's got to stack up in your lockers. It was definitely a moment I remember. Like I was, there's something I was folding. I wasn't folding right, and he kind of came over and he's trying to instruct me, and I'm just not grasping it. He just kind of looks at me. I was like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?" Like not in like a yelling RDC mean way, but just kind of looking at me like, "How the fuck are you not getting this?" Like he was genuinely confused, and I was just looking at him like, and I don't remember what it was, but again, just pressure and lack of sleep. There was something I wasn't getting. I eventually got it, but at that point, I realized my dad's edict is like, don't let him know your name. Like, oh yeah, he knew who Owens was at that point. And yeah, I definitely from third, fourth day on, like he knew my name among a few others. Not at the complete bottom of the list with the McDougals of the world, but I was on his fucking list. And that's just that's where I was in life. And we go through the rest of P days, and there's just a lot of stuff you do. Like they give you all these tests over again. Like they give you a color blindness test, and they you get an eye test, and like I came in with contacts in, and I hadn't changed them in a couple days. Back then I didn't wear them overnights, but I had been because like I didn't really have a chance to change, and I didn't have anything else. The one thing they let me keep other than my razor was my extra contacts I'd brought, luckily. But you go get the eye test, and they give you you take out your contacts, and then they give you a they get your prescriptions, and they give you the BCs. For you non-military folk, BCs means birth control glasses, because they are so fucking ugly, you're never getting laid in them. These big brown or black frames. So I got 2 pairs of those, and that's what I wore through the rest of boot camp. I didn't go back into contacts, obviously, until I think mom and pop night, and I never put the glasses back on, even though we were supposed to. But that's later on down the line. So we got that. We got, in the shots, you basically go down a line where they're just like, it's a shooting gallery on both sides, where they're shooting your fucking arms with all these various shots, and they hurt. And then the last one is what they call the peanut butter shot, the PB shot. It goes in your butt, and the next morning it fucking hurts. Like he just, I mean, the shot itself is like, it's an owie, but whatever. But it's really the next day. They said like, hey, massage it, rub it around, keep it moving, because you let it sit there, it's gonna be a pain in the ass literally the next day. And we do our best, but definitely it still wasn't enough. Like I woke up the next morning and I was in a top rack, and I kind of rolled out of bed and hit the floor, and I almost fell down. I was like my right ass cheek just like almost fucking dropped out from under me. It was like so tight and cramped and hurt so bad. I was like, what the fuck? You are not kidding about this. And some other people had it worse. Like they were hurting from the moment they got it till never stopped. But you got. I mean, it faded away after a couple of days. But yeah, that first day with that shot in your butt kind of fucking sucked. And we're going through all this processing and more paperwork, and like, good God, I mean, like I think I've sold you guys my fucking life at this point. How much more fucking paperwork do you need from me? And another point was the drug tests were coming back. We were sitting somewhere. Like I remember we were sitting in some kind of classroom setting doing some kind of paperwork, and the RDCs walked by. I think it was Cade, and he says like, I got your guys' fucking tests. Let's see which one of you motherfuckers getting out of my fucking Navy. Because I guess there's always some people who, their test comes back positive. And I'll be honest, I was worried. I had, unfounded, but I had like taken a couple tokes off of some of a weed pipe, maybe 2 weeks before that. And it wasn't something I did a lot in high school, but, I occasionally partaked. And at this point I had just, I had gone to a, camping down by the river in southern Missouri. And, I gotten drunk off, a couple of beers, which all it took me at that point. And I was kind of wandering around the different campsites, and I fell on one, and they were passing around a pipe, and I partaked. And I immediately started freaking out the next day. I was like, oh shit, I'm getting piss tested in like 2 weeks. What the fuck am I doing? And the story goes that the marijuana takes 30 days to get out of your system. Well, that's not totally true. That's just if you've built up so much. If you're a heavy regular smoker, you build up a lot of THC in your system. Yeah, it's going to take 30 days. I mean, I'm sure the little I had was out in 3 days or whatnot. But I went and bought gold. My biological mom was with me at the time, and she took me to like a GNC or something, and I bought Golden Seal, and I was just taking that every day, and I still wasn't sure. And then you gotta take the piss test, and he comes, he starts parading around like he hasn't opened them yet, but he has the test results. So at this point, I'm having a minor panic attack because I feel, oh my God, my name gonna be on there? Fuck. Oh, I've ruined this for nothing, for something stupid. But yeah, no, I don't think anyone actually got busted out of our division. It was, a rarity at that point, I think. And the other thing they're kind of, hinting at is like, you don't get beat at that point. Now, what I mean about being beat is exercise, PT, whatever. They can't touch you during P days. Like you have to be medically cleared and all that good happy horse shit. So it's just a week of you're getting yelled at a lot. You're wearing a sweatsuit, and you're getting all this initial processing done. But they're holding it over your head as like, once you're cleared, your asses are ours. And yeah, like the first, I think we all got cleared. A couple of people got dropped at this point, I think, for various reasons. I think there were a handful of guys there that were, I think my RDCs recognized it, because when you're hanging out in like the berthing and you're doing cleaning or just after shower time, getting ready for bed or whatever, people sit there and bullshit with each other. And, you don't think they're in the office. You don't think they're really listening, but they kind of are. And I think there were quite a few guys in there were gang related, and it was RDCs were hip to that and their language, and kind of like picked out like, I think it was like 5 or 6 guys, and those guys are all gone, right before we started actual week 1. And I think that was just their sleuthiness of their situation. And a few other guys got dropped for, I think some medical issues possibly, and then we had a couple new guys come in and got rolled back, got in trouble in their division and got what's called ASMO, which I don't know what it stands for, but it's basically I think other services call it recycling, but yeah, you go back, you're in boot camp and you fuck up or you're in a medical problem or whatever, and you get sent back a few weeks. So we got a few of those guys. Yeah, then we started. We were officially in the service. I think it was like when we got all that done and we got our dungarees back. We finally got to wear them, and they immediately beat the shit out of us. I said I was kind of chubby. I definitely wasn't a regular workout guy or did a whole lot of athletic shit back then. So it was a immediate, one of the most painful memories of my life. I was, we were just doing, calisthenics basically, and they're yelling at you and telling you what to do, and hold push-ups for this position and do jumping jacks forever and leg flutter kicks and all the fun stuff that goes along with calisthenics. And it's just, it felt like it was an hour, and it probably wasn't more than 15, probably, or even around 10 minutes of it. But it was intense, and we all just kind of just felt the fucking brutality of it. Of course, some guys, been through they were football players and other sports guys. They've been, wrestlers even. Probably wasn't bad for them, but anyone like myself, it was just fucking brutal, and it was, I was like, are we gonna stop at any point? Oh my fucking god! And it's, they finally did, and they have links that they can go to do that. Like they have limitations. But yeah, that was kind of that was really where where you wake up and you realize like now you're really really in boot camp. You're getting the exercising you expected. And all the time, they're teaching you how to march properly and, how to, make your bed and fold your shit. And you're starting to take your first instructional classes. And, that was kind of like the real beginning of, moving on into like the real boot camp. And your sleep's slightly getting better as it goes on. And you're learning to wear those big fucking clunky steel-toe chukka boots. And, it just, it was what it was. And, it was still shocking. But, the good thing about being 18 at the time, your body's really resilient. I had no real, like I said, I was 18 years old. I had no health problems. I adjusted fairly quick. But the first 2 or 3 days after we were officially in week 1 was, it was brutal. And I remember it. It's, the first exercise session was tough. The second one was a little less tough. And by the third one wasn't so bad. I think I started getting used to it overall. But at this point is where you get into, competition. You're it sounds weird to do in competition, but you're basically in competition with all the other divisions in your graduating class. And you're earning these pennants, for different areas of boot camp goodness, academics, physical, inspection-wise, whatever have you. And then they're teaching you drill and formation, and all that was coming up. So, but, I think I'll call it right there, and then we'll get into the highlights of, actual boot camp and, maybe those early days up until through service week. Because I think service week's an interesting thing to talk about. People who've been through it and the newer guys who never went through it, what exactly it was and why it sucks so fucking bad. So that'll be the next part of boot camp. And then I'll probably have one more part after that, up to graduation and, moving on. So probably I think I'm looking at 2 more parts of this before I get on to A school and then on to the actual fleet. So thanks for listening. I hope these stories are interesting and entertaining for everybody. Those that are enjoying it. I see a lot of the comments, so it's really positive, enjoying it. So I'm glad to hear that, and I'll keep making these as long as people keep seeming to like them. That's all the Salty Seaman's got for now. Peace.